Okay, we are going to have some real fun now, guys, and I apologize for this thing, but it was more important to me that you guys see very clearly what I'm doing than, say, this not being the shot. So forgive this. I hope you will be okay with that, but I really want to focus on what we're doing here because we're going to work on replacing this piston ring out of this system, and it's kind of a technical job, and we're going to kind of walk our way through it very slowly and just take our time. So what you have here in this bag o' goodies, and let's see, where can I lay these out here? I'm going to put them out here on the table and separate them. So we've got 3 different piston rings, and I will put some pictures here. I'll grab them with my GoPro here. I'll put these other pieces over here. They're not part of this demonstration. We've got 4 of these tiny little O-rings. We've got 4 slightly larger O-rings. And then we have 2 of the slightly, well, they're, I don't know. They look like in between the 2. So let me get some shots of what we got here so that you can see what we're dealing with. So these are the O-rings, the very top row we've got there. Those are our piston rings. Then we have the little red or orange O-rings. We have the red O-rings. Then we have the green O-rings. And what we're going to be doing is working on this guy right here to actually take this apart and replace the piston ring. So let's get to that. Okay, so one of the things I want to say, and this is super important, I'm going to just put some batteries aside in case I need them for the cameras. Super important here. Do not start this process if you're in a hurry. There's teeny tiny little parts in here. Specifically, there's actually this teeny tiny little spring and ball bearing that if you lose that, you're done. You're not going to be running your compressor. So we're going to start with a 5mm, and we're going to take these out. Okay, so they can be kind of snug. So you know, don't be surprised if there's some resistance on here. Some of these kind of go free, and others seem to be a little snug. Whenever you're rebuilding these things, you never want to force it. If something doesn't go together like it came apart, just stop, because you're likely, whatever that word is, you are potentially, there we go, potentially going to damage it. Okay, so I'll just take this off here. Okay, so these are really snug, as you can see, and the others are looser. I'm free of the threads there. I'll get this off. Okay, now all of this is held together with O-rings, which is great. There's no gaskets to say per se, so you're really not going to have to use a torque wrench and all that stuff. You don't want to overdo it. All right, so we're going to just slowly pull this off. I say that as if it's easy, right? There it is. Okay, so we're going to take this top piece off here. This slides out. All right, so that's going to slide out and sit down here. We're going to take this piece off right here, and this is going to slide right out. Now this little rubber thing comes with it, and the most difficult part of this entire rebuild is putting that thing back in. Okay, so this is the guy right here. This is what's making your air. We're going to go to, I think it's a 2.5. Yeah. So we're going to go to a 2.5mm. And when we get to this part, we're going to kind of do a little bit on each one. And then we don't want to stress any one particular point, right? So we're going to do a little bit here, a little bit there, kind of like in a, you know, crosshatch kind of looking way. And these again come off pretty easily. Okay, so okay, that's starting to come free. So we got some long screws here. Now this is where you're going to see the first time you're going to see some of these O-rings come into play. And these screws use the little red O-rings. Let me get this apart here. Okay, I think we are free. Okay, so I'm going to pull these out. As you see, I've got the little red O-ring on the screw, so we're going to put these over here. If you notice, I'm using a terry cloth, little place to stage my parts. The reason I do that is that you want something that kind of grabs them. If you have anything that's hard surface, like this is nice, but it's hard surface, and I've had parts kind of run away, and this helps have them not run away. So now we're going to go ahead and pull this out. And this, there you go. That is what we're going to rebuild right there. Okay. Okay, now if you notice here, these are your other O-rings right here. Now, these actually look like they're in good shape. I'm not going to replace them. I'm going to show you how to rebuild this guy right here, because this is the important part right here. So let us, I got my screwdriver. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to get another rag. I'll be right back. Okay, since this is a nice area you can see very clearly, I'm going to put this like that and actually just work right there. Okay. Okay, that looks great. Okay, so we got our parts over here. We're going to take this apart, and if you notice what we have here is we have some components. These are our piston rings right there. Okay, and inside that little guy is where you're going to find your two green O-rings. Okay, so at the end you've got a flathead screwdriver, so we'll take that apart. There it is. Okay. All right. All right. Now there is our spring and ball. You do not want to lose those. You really, really don't want to lose those. The ball seats down inside there, and it's a little check valve. So it goes in there, and the spring holds it in place, and the spring rides up in here. So those are the two components that you do not want to lose. You lose those, and you're calling Umarex for more spare parts. That's what's happening. Okay, now if you notice, you probably see the green O-rings right here. So if we pull this apart, may take a little work. May have to get some sort of O-ring pick or something to get those out. But this section sits in there like that, and these O-rings actually ride in like this inside there. So let's see if we can get this apart. Okay, so here we go. You're supposed to replace this every 20 hours. And there we are. Ooh, it's in there very snug. And these parts, I have a feeling, are quite soft. I do not know what they're going to look like in 20 hours. And this is basically brand new, so I'm taking this apart, it being a brand new compressor. So these parts may look really worn after 20 hours of running. So for right now, these look really clean, so I don't know what they're going to look like. So we've got, these are the new piston rings, and they go right on to where these piston rings go, and also where this one is. See here? Since they are perfectly fine, they're not showing any wear, I'm not going to replace those right now. I'm just going to leave them. Okay. So those are that. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace this main seal right here. So this is going to slide on. It goes on snug. I'm going to go ahead and put our O-rings in there. There it is. Right? Put that there like that. The O-ring in like this. Okay. Get that put together. And that's going to go down inside this seal here. Okay, now we need to install our check valve. I'm going to take the little BB right there. The spring right there. And then this goes here. Now we're going to carefully screw this down and seat those O-rings carefully, and I mean that carefully. We need those to go down into that seat. So let's do this super carefully here because we don't have any spare parts besides these. So take this one out. Make sure that gets down in there. Maybe pull this out here. Okay. Carefully seat this. Okay. Okay, that's good. Do the next one here. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, now we'll put this back in here. Boy, these teeny tiny little parts. The little BB back in there, and our spring, and then the top part. And there we are. Now we can use our screwdriver to secure it. There we go. Now it just stops. When you feel it stop, don't keep cranking on it. You don't need to. It's perfectly fine. So that is all snug. And again, these piston rings, if they were worn, we'd go ahead and use our replacements. But since they're not, I'm just going to put this back together now. So let's go through that process. Okay, so let's go ahead and install our assembled piston. We're going to go ahead and install this. We want to sort of roll it back and forth and get it to go down nice and smoothly. Now notice this, you've got two different types of holes here. You got one that's got like a plug and one that's open. This one that's sort of got something in it goes towards the handle. Bring this down. Okay. Now we can go ahead and install our set screws here. Again, these O-rings are in fine shape, so we don't really need to replace them, but if you did, you would. Go ahead and get these started. Okay. Now, when we go ahead and bring these, bring tension down, we're just going to get them like to where they sort of base. We're not putting any tension on them yet. We just want to bring them down evenly. We don't want to tweak anything and put too much pressure on any one angle. So just get them snugged up, and then we'll do like some cross patterns. So we'll do this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. Again, because we're using O-rings, you don't need to wrench on these at all. Okay, the O-rings do the sealing, not the force you're putting down into it. Now we get to replace this guy. So this is going to slide right down over here, just like this. Let's see, are we down? We are. That's quite easy. And you've got these channels right here. This is where your screws run. And they're going to go and line up just like that. Maybe you guys can see. You look down there, you'll be able to see exactly where your screws line up. And we're going to put this right down through those little channels. Now, sometimes these are a little bit stiff and don't want to go down all the way. Not this time. Beautiful. Okay, so now we get this part where it gets snug. And this head, we've got to get all the way down. There is, again, an O-ring in there. that seals it. And we're just going to start each of these. We're just going to get them started. Okay, let's see here. Come on now. There it is. Okay, just want to get them started. Okay. Okay, and this is going to be the same exercise. We want this to seat completely level and come down level. So we don't want to put any undue pressure on any one particular corner. We're just going to kind of get them to where they're just, you know, looking to put pressure down on that top plate. All right. So these are the ones that were just snug last time we went through. So, okay, there we are. Let's get it to go down in. You can feel it when it catches and starts to bring the plate into place. Okay, now we are, oops, I'll go ahead and tighten this up and bring it down flush to, I guess this is a heat shield. All right, there we are. And here we are here. All right, so all in all, that's looking pretty good, guys. So that's not very hard. As you can see, to get that piston ring replaced is actually pretty straightforward. It's not terribly difficult. Now, what we're going to do to make sure it's working is we're just going to hook up our test plug right there. Again, if yours didn't come with those, you just get one. They're fairly affordable. You can find them pretty easily. And I'm going to go ahead and hook up our power. And then we'll just do a test run here. So I've got the bleeder open. And this is before we install this. This is really a pain to put in. I'll just be upfront with you. It's a pain in the butt. And it probably provides some stability to this whole system. So we don't want to run it a lot. We just want to make sure we're making pressure. If we're making pressure, we'll shut down. We'll go ahead and install this and we'll do a full and proper test. All right, so here we go. Moment of truth now. We're just going to leave the bleeder open, hit go. That's good enough for me. We're making air and we're making it very quickly. So that's awesome. So let's go ahead and disconnect the power. And we'll install this guy. Now, I'm not going to bore you through the entire process of putting this in, but just needless to say, I'll show you here on the camera. There's a ridge in there, or a gap, and that catches the edge of the metal. And it is a pain. It just is. So we're going to get this in here like this. Maybe Umarex has a special tool or some sort of special thing they do to make this easier. I wish they had told me what it was. I don't know what it is. So it's just a matter of quite literally squishing this into place all the way around. And there's just no easy way to do it. So you're going to see me circle around the table trying to get this thing put back, and then we'll do a proper and full test. Fast music. All right, that is awesome. Okay, so full disclosure, the second or third time you do that, it goes much faster. First time was kind of a pain, so that's not nearly as hard as I remember it, so that's awesome. Now we need to do a proper pressure test, and we're gonna run this thing right up to 4,500, and let's see what we get. So let's actually time it. So I'll plug this in, get my phone going here. All right, so we'll open the bleeder. We'll up our pressure to the 4,500. All right, there we are, 4,500 PSI. Let's go ahead and get this done. Open up the bleeder valve, hit the button. All right, shut the bleeder, hit start. Okay, there we are. Very, very quickly, in about a minute, we were up to that 4,500 PSI. We'll go ahead and bleed this off now. And we're good to go. Now, what I was using for all of this, guys, I have this test plug. I don't know if the units will come with a test plug, but I would certainly buy one. There's what they look like. You guys can see it there in the shot. Get one of these test plugs if it does not come with it. It allows you to do maintenance on your compressor without having to hook it up to a bottle. So we'll go ahead and turn this, or go ahead and unplug this now. And just a couple final things. This manual is your best friend. If you go to page, let's see, what is it? 13. Page 13, you have the phone number for Umarex USA. If this process, you're looking at this and you're going, nah, I don't think so. If you look at this and would rather have them do it, you can actually arrange for them to take care of that for you. Probably going to be a charge for that, just a heads up. But you can definitely have somebody else do it if you want. Also, spare parts, order extras, okay? I would, if this unit was mine, I would have probably 4 or 5 sets of rebuild kits, including the little spring, the little ball bearing. I think if there's something that's going to take a trip across the garage floor and never to be found again, it's probably going to be one of those little pieces. Everything else is probably going to stay pretty still. But that little ball bearing and that little spring is probably the one thing that's just going to go missing. And so if you're going to be doing your own work, I'd say go ahead and get 3 or 4 rebuild kits just so that you have them on hand just in case you have a part go missing. Guys, that's it. I hope you guys really love your Umarex ReadyAir compressor. I know I cannot wait to get my actual production unit that I'm just going to have a lot of fun with and just fill all my air guns. I'll have ready air. How awesome will that be? If you need more information, go to www.umarexusa.com. My name is Rick Utzer. Thanks for watching.